Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is for the Premier. Government has a responsibility to be honest with people about how their tax dollars are being spent. It's bad enough that the Premier is wasting millions on his politically motivated lawsuit against the federal government. Now we are learning that the government is planning to spend millions more on a partisan ad campaign against the federal government. Mr. Speaker, can the Premier tell the people of Ontario how much of their money he is spending on his political campaign to sabotage climate solutions at a time when we are experiencing a climate emergency?
Questions to the Premier.
President of the Treasury.
Refer to the President of the Treasury.
Thank you, team. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member opposite for that question. You know, government advertising, as you know, is used to tell the people about their rights and responsibilities, as well as government programs and services. Mr. Speaker, we will continue to review advertising to ensure it's delivered in the most efficient and effective way, and it delivers for the people of Ontario. But let me talk a little bit, since you raised it, about the carbon tax. As I understand the federal carbon tax program, the idea is to take a little bit of money out of this pocket, process it through government, and then put it back the same amount in this pocket.
Sounds efficient to me.
Well, let me tell you, one thing I've learned in government is that maybe the government takes a little processing fee, a little administration fee, and that not the same amount ends up in this pocket, but something a little less. But then they have to reach in another pocket, Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the minister reminding us that the Premier is against making polluters pay. But I thought the Premier was for saving taxpayers' dollars as well. No one gave the Premier a mandate to spend our money on his political advertising campaign. Just last year, the honourable member from Dufferin-Caledon introduced a private member's bill to restore the Auditor General's oversight of government advertising. A great private member's bill. Mr. Speaker, will the Premier pause his anti-climate ad campaign against the federal government until legislation is in place to restore the Auditor General's oversight over government advertising?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you again for the follow-up. You know, it's been brought to my attention that the federal government is mailing postcards to households and have an extensive online advertising campaign promoting their carbon tax plan.
Wow. Go figure. Wow.
Right here.
Order.
I also understand.
Too much because of carbon tax.
Can you settle down my side, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, you know, I understand under the previous Liberal government there was a huge jump in advertising spending right before the election. I'll let the House determine why that may have been the reason. But what I will say is that the government is exploring all options for review under all forms of government advertising, and I will tell you this as well. We've introduced the Audit and Accountability Committee. We're not going to let the Auditor General's report languish in someone's drawer. We're going to actually act on the Auditor General's recommendations and to provide value for money for taxpayers of Ontario, Mr. Speaker.
Next question, the member for Peterborough.